If you've been thinking that you want to start your own podcast, consider this your sign and your permission slip. I'm Sarah Heater, your host of Big Brave Business, and I'm also the founder and CEO of Podfox Media. We're a podcast production and strategic consultation company, and we've helped launch almost 100 shows and consulted on hundreds more. In 2024 and beyond, there are so many choices out there for podcast editors or managers or even production teams. But the difference when you work with Podfox Media is that you get access to not just our strategic support, and believe me, we are some of the best in the business, but also our core values. And that's something that I know if you've been listening to Big Brave Business for a while, you are well familiar with. If you know you want to work with a team that has your back and is actively working to change the world through revolutionary podcasting, working with thought leaders in a ton of different industries whose voices might be underrepresented in their communities or their industries or in podcasting, because let's be honest, it's a middle-aged white dude's game. That sounds like the kind of team and the kind of environment you want to be part of and you want to have behind you to get your podcast off the ground. We will help you every step of the way. Schedule your 100% free 90-minute launch strategy session with me or someone from my team at launchmyshow.com. That'll also be linked in the show notes, but it's launchmyshow.com. Welcome back to Big Brave Business. I'm your host, Sarah K. Heater. Big Brave Business is a podcast where we challenge the status quo of traditional business practices. So if you're ready to challenge norms, rewrite the rules, and redefine what it means to lead with courage and integrity, then grab a notebook and let's dive in. Welcome back to Big Brave Business. This is going to be so fun. If you didn't know, during season 1, Amanda and I started a YouTube channel. So Amanda was my former co-host. If you're new here or newish here, if you've joined in the past year, started listening, then you may not know this. I originally had a co-host, and Amanda and I did a YouTube channel. We had this vision that we wanted to do like the speed questions, like people do for celebrities or big brands do for celebrities, where they just ask them these rapid fire questions like, but who are you as a person? And so we did that with business owners. My guest today is one of our guests from our YouTube channel. So we have a really fun conversation on there. So if you have been following that long, A, thank you. Hello. But
Yes.
B, you may recognize her. But my guest today is Deb Podlogar. Is that
Podlogar? You got it. Sounds like a beer.
okay?
Yes. Podlogar.
Oh, that's funny. Is Deb Podlogar. She is also known online as the Mocktail Mom. She is the host of Thriving Alcohol-Free podcast and author of The Happiest Hour. And when she stopped drinking alcohol, she took a break from alcohol in 2021. She literally had no idea what was coming for her. I was just telling her before we hit record, you have created a mocktail empire at this point with your book, your membership, your podcast, your social media following. You've just really done so many things. Oh, and your summit. You've done really so many things. And it's been so fun to watch you grow and thrive with exploring alcohol-free options and helping other people explore their options to like divest their life from dependence on alcohol. So welcome to the podcast, Deb. So excited.
I love that. Divest your life from dependence on alcohol. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to see you again. I love you, my friend. This is great. Thank you for having me on.
One of those relationships where we met for the first time, talking about your potential podcast before it existed. Now it's globally ranked in the top 3% of podcasts in the world. But when we first met and we were thinking about what your podcast might look like, we just instantly clicked. I just adored you immediately.
Yes,
thankfully, it was mutual. So it's been fun to have like this cheering each other on relationship over the past 2 years, which I cannot believe.
Crazy.
More than, because it was 2022.
Crazy.
So it's just wild. But yeah, so happy to know you and happy to see you. So here's the big question, my friend, which is, what does being big and brave in your business look like right now for you?
Okay, so it's so funny that we're having this conversation because I feel like I'm really at a crossroads, and I feel like being brave in my business is being able to look at what I'm doing and say, why am I doing this? And really reevaluate. Because I think we get stuck. I know I have.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've done for the last 2.5, 3 years. Even my content, like for the last 4 years, this is what I've done. But I've changed, I've grown. So
Mm.
being brave, I think, is being able to adjust and reevaluate and be okay to change.
Yeah.
And maybe not everybody's going to follow what you're changing, what now you're talking about more or something, but that's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. I think just to be true to yourself. I think for me, that is the thing that takes the most bravery in my business is just to be authentic to who I am. And that is not maybe the same person I was 4 years ago. Hopefully, right? Hopefully, we're all changing and
Yeah.
growing and
Yeah.
evolving. And right now, I really feel like I'm at a crossroads of like, okay, what am I doing with my podcast? Okay, my book came out 3 months ago. What am I doing to promote that? What am I doing? Is that
Yeah.
okay to say?
Yeah.
Like, I feel confused.
Yeah, I think that this is so important because we talk on this podcast a lot about like identifying your core values, knowing your core values, and then also making decisions based on your core values. But part of that includes a constant assessment of number one, are my values the same? Or
Yep.
have they evolved? Like, are these still the priorities right now? And then number two, as I evolve, as the world evolves, as my business evolves, as things grow and change and new opportunities become available, and I have more information than I had before, and any number of things change, then how do we constantly continue to assess like what now? And this is interesting too, because the way that I framed your bio there was that when you took a break from alcohol, I'm making some assumptions here based on knowing you for a couple years now, that
Yeah.
you did not have a grand plan that this was going to
No.
lead to all the things that you've done. When you thought, I just need a break, I need to try taking a break from alcohol, you had no clue that this was going to become all the things Mocktail Mom has become. So
100%.
as you have been open to new experiences, but b tried to plan for the future, I think there is something to be said for like, I'm such a planner, like I have a 5-year plan pretty much all the time, but that 5-year plan has to be able to shift, right? So
Yeah.
3 years from now, what if I want to go a different direction? Do I have to stick to the plan? Like,
Right.
then what? So it's all a balance. I think we all deal with that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's fine. Like, what's giving me joy? What's bringing energy? Because especially like in the work that I'm doing, I have to be creative, whether it's making a
Yeah.
reel or being on a podcast, being on my own podcast. There's a lot of creative energy that it takes to do that, to do those things that I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And I have to be fun. There has to be joy and fun in it. At least that's my personality. Like I find the fun in anything generally, no matter what's going on. But for it to be something that really gives me energy, I think that's key. And there's been things that I've been doing and I just feel like they're sucking my energy. And it's like I can't spend 5 hours a day editing videos. I can't. I need to make quick videos and just keep it fun, keep it light. And just keep the content going. But
Yeah.
it's paralyzed me a little bit. And comparing myself to other people has paralyzed me a little bit. And I think that's a lot of us, we go, oh, well, she's doing this. Oh, she's got that deal. And it's like, get it. That doesn't has no place in my head. Put my blinders on, keep doing what I'm doing, serving the people that I'm serving. Because
Yeah.
my mission is just to share with people the fun is not over and there are still good things to drink. But you're
Yeah.
100% right. Never in a million years did I think I would have some kind of a business or a book or a podcast or anything when I stopped drinking. I just wanted to like take my foot off the gas from the Chardonnay. I was drinking a bottle or two a night. I just wanted to like just take a little break. I just wanted to feel better. I just wanted to wake up on a Tuesday without a hangover. But it's changed my life in every way. So
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many things about this that are so powerful. And I think to kind of not to deviate too far yet from that line of thought, even though there's so many other things we could dig into in what you just said. But I think that content creation is tough. Being on that content treadmill is exhausting. It's in the beginning, you're like, there's endless opportunity for what I could do. And especially for you in showing that the fun is
mhm,
not over. There's so many other things to drink. A big part of what you do is share recipes, right? Hence, you have a book.
sure.
And so a big part is recipes, and you get to try different products. There's always new brands that are becoming available.
Yeah.
But like, how many combinations or recipes of mocktails do you really want to
Right.
try?
Right. It's overwhelming. And even all these new brands, it's overwhelming. And personally, I drag around guilt because I love getting free stuff. Like I love when these brands will send me like
Sure.
products or whatever. Like that was my dream in the beginning was like, maybe someone would send me a free bottle. Like that was my dream. So like now when bottles show up or products, which I'm so grateful for, I now feel guilt because I don't have the time or the mental bandwidth to make a video about their product or to talk about it. And then if I don't like it, then I feel really bad because I'm like, I didn't even like their product. And I'm not going to put it in my story, my Instagram story. Anyway, it's a whole thing. That sounds terrible to say because I'm very grateful, very, very grateful. But I
It
feel
doesn't,
guilt because I don't promote their products enough. But
I
it
don't
doesn't
think
pay the
it does
bills. A free
sound
bottle doesn't pay
terrible.
my bills.
I think it's important. And I think guilt is something that I don't know that we've spent a lot of time on this podcast, but I think that it's important. I've talked about a little bit about grief. We've certainly talked about shame. But guilt is another interesting part of
Hmm.
entrepreneurship, growing a business, et cetera, that is, and especially anything content creation related, that I think it matters to discuss. And I am sure that someone listening is like, either yes, this makes total sense, or like, wow, that's my dream and now I like see it a little differently, or they can relate like, yes, this is my life, like I feel that too. I'm curious on that note of originally that was your dream.
It was my dream.
So
Yeah.
what do your dreams look like now? You've had a book published and you've had summits and you've had brand deals and you have a globally ranked podcast and you've done a membership. Like you've tried so many different things in the kind of entrepreneurship space. So what are you dreaming of now?
Okay, I love this question because I'm dreaming of something. It's different, it's new, and that's just my personality. It's just like this is going to feed my creative juices, and I'm so excited about it. Okay, have you heard of live selling?
Yeah.
Okay, my dream job as a kid was to be a QVC hostess. Like I would have loved to have stood there and told you about what the perfume smells like and why this is the best perfume for you, whatever the product is, the zirconia, whatever they call it, Diamonique. I could have sold Diamonique back in the day, 1995 on QVC. But anyway, really what
That's so
I'm
cute.
leaning
As a kid, that that's what you wanted to
that was
do.
literally like that would have been my dream job. So now I feel like, okay, I can have QVC in my own home. Like I can make a little QVC station right here for Mocktail Mom. So I am leaning into, I'm really planning right now for live selling and to start live selling on my TikTok and then also on Whatnot, which is an app that people can download and it's live selling all day long. I mean, it's literally the QVC vacation of the world. But
Oh,
yeah, it's
interesting. This is
commerce-tainment is what it is. I don't know if you
oh,
follow Gary Vaynerchuk, but Gary V has been talking about live selling and how it's massive in China and it's coming, the wave is coming to the United States. So I'm like, I'm getting on early.
super interesting. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen this most often. I don't do a ton of e-commerce stuff because it's not really my
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
bag, but I've seen it with, well, number one, I've seen it a lot with boutiques, like small
Yep.
boutiques
Yep. They're
doing
standing
things like
there.
that. And it
Yep.
is really entertaining. Things that like I'm not, there was one that had come up in
Uh-huh.
my feed at one point that was wigs. And I'm not
Oh, interesting.
personally in the
Yeah.
market for wigs, but
Okay.
wow, was it an interesting
It's entertainment.
live to watch. And anyway, so I've seen it with that, and then also I've seen a version of this with, of course, we all have with kind of more of those. I think now tends to be more considered like network marketing, but the whole polish things, the Tupperware, the where instead of just necessarily parties in your home, they're doing like Facebook
Oh,
group parties or
oh,
things like
yeah.
that,
Yep.
where
Yep.
there's some live selling elements to that, where there's games and there's
That's true.
information and
Okay.
there's and it's funny because my other podcast, my other identity, which is actually really similar to this one, surprisingly so, is for Girl Scout troop leaders.
Oh, that's
So I'm a
right. That's
lifetime member
right.
of Girl Scouts,
Uh-huh.
and one of the things, one of my favorite kind of troop leader coaching things that we did with that podcast, I had another troop leader from Florida who was helping me with this particular training about creative ways to sell cookies. And
Okay.
we talked about that with cookie selling, like getting girls, they love the internet, they love social media, especially
Yeah.
a little bit
They
older.
love it.
So having them really tap into how can you create that kind of live selling experience with Girl Scout cookies. So anyways,
Yeah.
all that to say,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
right there with you. I think that's really creative and interesting for a new direction for you.
Yeah, I feel like it's just my personality. I don't know if it's undiagnosed
And
ADHD.
it's a
I don't know.
childhood
But I
dream
feel like,
fulfilled.
yeah, like I always, yes, my child, it's literally, I'm like, why can I can do this right here. Like I have little Moscow Mule mugs that have my Mocktail Mom logo on them. I have some little muddlers that say muddle like a mother. And I came up with these cute little mocktail t-shirt designs. I'm just getting those printed. So I'm like, I could sell that right here from my daughter's bedroom. She's now married and moved out. We're going to turn it into a little QVC station. And just, you know what, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? So what? Like I end up with 20 muddlers? Okay, big deal. But I
You
think I'll be fine.
know,
I think it'll be fine. I think I'll be able to sell them. But I mean, like
what's so
there's,
funny about
yeah,
that? What's the worst thing that could happen if this doesn't work? That is
yeah.
spoken like someone who has tried a lot of things. And I
And like, what's
think
the worst thing? Right?
most of us, especially when we're first starting out, if somebody listening is kind of in the earlier stages of business, but even if you've been in business for a while, if you've stuck to the same kind of business model, you haven't really tried a lot. I would say for me, I've tried a little. Like I've talked about this a bit on this podcast, but I did an online course once, hated the
Hated it.
experience.
Okay.
I do think that online courses, digital courses have a place in our product lineup in the future, but definitely did not enjoy that. Did a
Okay.
membership last year. I learned a lot. I
Yeah.
can't say
Yeah.
that it
Yeah.
failed because it didn't go the way that I envisioned it going, but I
Yep.
learned a lot from it and we're adapting the same content in a different way.
Great.
So that membership does not exist anymore. So, anyways, all of that to say, I've tried some stuff, but for the most part, what I've made money doing, what has kept the lights on, is the same business model. And
Interesting.
even down to, I didn't even update my sales call until about a year ago. So it was the
Really?
same sales call for 4 years. Like, just, I mean,
Yeah, it's
same
working. Yeah,
business
it's
model.
working.
But
Yeah.
I feel like you have such a array of entrepreneurial experiences. And I think that, speaking to being big and brave, I think that I just said in last week's episode,
Hmm.
the more that you practice being big and brave, the easier it is to be.
Totally.
So I feel like the more
Totally.
you've done stuff that's outside of your comfort zone, you're trying things, you're trying new stuff. And the more you exercise that muscle, the easier it is to just say, like, I mean,
What's the
of
worst thing that can
course I'm going to try
happen? And
something.
that's how I felt with the podcast was like, what's like, I was so nervous to get behind the microphone and do a podcast. Like, I feel like I love video and
Yeah.
making reels or whatever. I feel like that's I don't know, my space. I enjoy that. And I
Yeah.
was so nervous to be the host of a podcast. And I thought, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? So maybe I do 5 episodes and I hate it. And I'm like, actually, I really like it. I like talking to people. I like
Yeah.
hearing their stories about
Yeah.
breaking up with alcohol or drinking less, being more
Yeah.
mindful, however they are. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that is so funny to hear. I hear it so often from people who have done really tremendous things, really tremendous,
Mm.
big, brave things. They've spoken on stages in front of crowds and they do a ton of
Yeah.
video content and they go live once a week or twice a week or whatever to their audience. And they make TikToks or reels or whatever it is. And they have a thriving YouTube. Well, YouTube, yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe they have a thriving YouTube channel. And then they come to me and they're like, I'm terrified to do a podcast. Like, I'm so nervous.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
really?
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
Why?
Yeah, there's something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It can be very scary, very
I
intimidating.
think it's vulnerable. And
Yeah.
anytime you are putting yourself in a vulnerable situation, especially for the first time, it's nerve wracking.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. So, and I think also we have hopes for what it could be, and where I think there's such a fear of being disappointed. And like, what if I'm disappointed? And then
Yeah.
there's also fear of what if it's successful? What if it actually
That's
takes off and
true.
like a ton of people listen to me? Like
Yeah,
also
yeah. I
really
better know what I'm
scary.
talking about. What am I
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you're right. It is very you do become a lot more vulnerable in a podcast, I think, than a 30-second reel for sure.
Especially the more you do it. I've said I've been podcasting since 2016. And at this point, somebody asked me in a podcast interview like a month ago, what's something about you that isn't in your bio and someone couldn't find on the internet? I said, oh my God, like I've done so
You're
many
like,
podcast
you're like
interviews at this
everything's
point. Like
out there. They know
shared every,
everything.
I've shared way too much in
Everything.
podcasts
Yes, I know. I know.
episodes.
People know things about my husband. They're like, oh, we know you call him Lair Bear. Like they know things.
Yeah, yeah. I've shared way, way too much in
Way
podcasts.
too much. Yes.
Yeah. It feels
Yeah.
like talking to a friend. So, I mean,
Yeah.
and in a lot of
Yeah.
cases it is
It
talking to a friend,
is.
right?
It
So then
is.
you
Yep.
just overshare. And I don't think you have the same thing in a reel because I think a reel is so targeted in, first of all, time, but also it's like okay, the goal is this, like it's this call to action and that's it. Whereas a podcast is bigger than just or any long form
True.
content, right? Is bigger
True.
than just a call to action. And there's something about writing that's also very vulnerable as far as like blogs go or sometimes email newsletters, but there's still a certain anonymity to
Yep.
writing. Having
Yep.
your actual voice attached is
Yep.
very vulnerable. It's very
Yep.
intimate.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. Very intimate. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, okay, so you have been sharing. I saw that you shared on social media. Also, we talked a little bit about this both in this episode and before we started recording about your podcast. So, you have been interviewing mostly people about their own stories with their relationship with alcohol and sobriety and whatnot, it sounds like. And
Yep.
you have been reassessing all these things like, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Do they still fit? What should they look like? What do we want to do from here?
Hmm.
If you could like wave a magic wand and your podcast could look like anything, could be doing anything, talking to anyone, doing like, what would that look like?
It's so funny. I think you get in your head. I'm saying you, I get in my head like, oh, I'm like, yes, I hear you say like top 3% in the world, right? But like when you see certain numbers, you go, oh, it's not as big as I thought it was going to be, or I
Sure.
don't get 50,000 downloads an episode.
Sure.
Like you think, right? Like you're supposed to be at this level. But then so then I start like getting in my head, like maybe I should just pull back. Maybe I should just do seasons. Maybe I shouldn't do a podcast. You know what I mean? Like you get in your head, right? You start questioning everything. Then I get messages from people who are like, oh my gosh, I listen to your podcast. Or I listen to your podcast every Tuesday when it comes out on the treadmill. Like, and it, like you were saying, it's a very intimate relationship that you have with your podcast listeners
Yeah.
that I know because I'm a listener of podcasts. So I know the relationship that I feel to the host. So to have people who are on the other side of it and reach out to me
Yeah.
is so meaningful. I mean, I
Yeah.
really I don't take that for granted and I don't ever want to take advantage of the loyalty that some people do feel to my podcast, even though maybe in my mind, in my head, I feel just maybe disappointed. It's not the right word. Maybe disappointed in myself that I haven't promoted it enough, or I haven't grown it enough like I thought I would. Just
Yeah.
haven't had like the bandwidth to do it because I'm constantly distracted by new things. Like let's start live
Yes.
selling.
Yes. This actually, there's so much good stuff there because the distraction by shiny objects is a thing that I want to talk about. And also,
Yeah.
that reminded me of the other thing that I was trying to remember earlier in the conversation when I was like, oh, there's so many more things we could dive into. One of the things that I did think about that would be interesting to talk about is comparing yourself to your own expectations, but also what
Yeah.
other people are doing. And really, that's all the same thing because it creates a perception of where you think you're supposed to be. And it's comparing yourself to that constantly and feeling
Yep.
that like this isn't enough. I think one way that
Mm-hmm.
I've felt that recently, so we're talking about moving out of Phoenix, we're talking about moving to Seattle. I've talked about this on the
Okay.
podcast a little bit. And I'm so proud of my business. I'm so proud of what I've
Mm.
accomplished. It's come so far. I believe in it so much. I think this vision that I have for what it can be and how it can grow, like it's so inspiring. It is one of my favorite things I have ever done with my life.
Oh,
And
amazing.
when I start looking at real estate prices in Seattle, now granted, I live in Phoenix, it's also expensive here, but I already
Yeah.
live here. When I start
Right.
looking at like the areas I most want to be in Seattle and I look at the inventory that's available and I look at what kind of lifestyle I want to be living, I feel like, how do I
Mm.
still have such limited options? Like I'm not doing enough. I'm not,
Mm.
it's not enough. Like as of all the stuff I think I've accomplished, I still can't afford to live where I want
Right.
to live. Like
Right.
I still
Right.
can't
Right. A
afford to buy a
basic
house. I
house.
can't.
Yeah. A
And
basic
so,
house in Seattle.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that like, then it becomes this kind of berating of myself
Mm.
of like, why is it not where I want to be? But one thing I specifically want to mention as a podcast producer and strategic consultant is that for content creators, people who create social media content specifically, who then start podcasts, there is sticker shock of the difference in reach
Oh,
because
yeah.
it
Oh,
is
yeah.
so easy to hit at least a couple thousand views on a short form video on TikTok or Reels. And for
Sure.
people like you who have built up quite a presence on social media, I'm sure you've had Reels that have and TikToks that have reached
Sure.
hundreds of thousands, maybe
Sure. And then
millions of
some, right. And
people.
then
And
some that are 200. Right. Yeah. It just
sure,
depends. Yeah. It
even
just depends.
200 could
Sure.
feel like to be disappointed at 200 views is like, is kind of typical for social media. Then you come to podcasting. And if you're not a celebrity, which most of us aren't, by the way, if you're listening to this and you're a celebrity, hey, but
yeah, shout out to you. Yeah, we're happy you're here.
So if you start a podcast and you're not a celebrity, then 200 people listening to you talk in depth for usually 25 to 45 minutes a week. That's average, right?
Yep.
25 to 45 minutes, not just once, but weekly. To have 200 people show up to listen to you talk.
I know.
For 25 to 45 minutes is completely different. The idea of watching a 30 to 90 second reel or TikTok and scrolling on, or hitting the follow button on social media, is so passive and simple. Yeah. And listening and being an engaged listener and being a consistent follower of long form content, that is such a higher level of engagement. But the sticker shock is so freaking real. And it is a little shocking. That's why one of the things that we like to do with my clients is send photos of, this is like what a group of 50 people, if you got 50 downloads this week, this is what a group of 50 people looks like. So I want you to understand, this is how many people showed up specifically to hear you speak. Not just they were at an event you happened to be speaking at. They came to hear you. They could have listened to anything. Could have listened to music or any other podcast, but what they specifically chose was to listen to you. So these 50 people basically came to your house to listen to you talk for 25 to 45 minutes or however long.
It's true. No, it's true.
And you kind of need that visual sometimes, I think. But anyways, this is why we need each other, because we need that perspective when you're comparing yourself to where you feel like you should be or what you thought, where you thought.
Right. Yeah. What I thought 2 years in.
Amazing. Like
50,000 downloads an episode. Yeah. But I appreciate that. And that's so true, right? Even if, let's say it's 200 downloads per episode, right? Maybe 300 or something. I mean, 300 people sitting in a room. Do you know how nervous I would be to stand up in front of 300 people live and speak? And like, I'm not nervous now to get behind to release an episode or whatever.
Yeah.
Be so nervous. It's a lot of people, even 5 people to stand up in front and talk to them. I would be nervous in person.
That they're looking to you like, hey, I'm here and I'm eager with rapt attention. I want to hear what you have to say. And you're like,
I want to learn. Okay. Yeah. Be sweating. Yeah. So even a smaller podcast like I have it's really, it's so true. Sticker shock is very true, because it's like, these are not somebody just scrolling, clicking a like button. There's somebody spending time listening and choosing to listen.
But especially with, even if you aren't a content creator on social media, you definitely in following other people in entrepreneurship or business coaches or whatever, you hear a lot about marketing, and marketing usually is talking about social media. So that's still how we talk about numbers. I don't really make a lot of TikToks or reels. I'm very, very rare. Haven't made one in 2025. So
okay.
But, like as you like are scrolling, as I'm just scrolling on social media, I'm seeing people share screenshots of like, or whatever, of the reel that I spent 5 minutes on got 13,000 downloads, but the reel I spent 6 hours on only got this paltry 250. And I'm like, 250 people is a lot of people.
That's true.
But you don't think of it that way when that's what you're consistently inundated with. So I think that's an interesting. So shiny objects, that's the other thing that you had mentioned. And I want to kind of pivot. Shiny object. I want to kind of
Let's talk about that.
We make a chance to talk about that while we still have a few minutes here, because this is something I really struggle with. And it's funny because this podcast can kind of be that for me a little bit. So I have this business.
Here we are.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I know what I need to do. I have a business plan. As I said, it's been pretty much the same business plan. The core business plan is the same business plan I've had since 2019. We're just rocking and rolling, but it's great. It works, right? I'm very proud of this, and it just scales and gets better, and that's cool. And yes, there's other things we're trying in addition and whatever, and that feels like a creative outlet. But then I have things like this where I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this podcast, and like, ooh, what else can I do? Ooh, this is creative. This is fun. Like, ooh, I want to put my energy here. I'm interested in spending time on my podcast. And it's like, Sarah, what's paying the bills? Because it's not currently at the time that I'm recording this, although it'd be great if by the time this comes out, it's sponsored. But you know what you have to do to get sponsors? You have to pitch people to be a sponsor. And I have never pitched a sponsor for Big Brave Business. So I don't have any. So, anyways,
Yep.
this podcast is not keeping the lights on, right? It's not keeping a roof over my head. I have to actually put effort into, although this is fun and it's a creative outlet, I have to put effort into the thing that is paying the bills. And when I discover something that's new, I've talked about my involvement with NABO and like policy chair and like, oh, I want to, oh, I like this. Oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to, but it's like, you have a full-time job, Sarah. Like,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
like, yeah, that has to come first. That has to come first.
Yep.
So, anyways, I just really relate to that shiny objects. But what do
I call
shiny
it
objects look like for
I
you?
call it ADOS,
Okay.
attention deficit. Oh, sparkly. Like AD, like I'm just constantly like, yeah, like, oh, look over there. What does it look like for me? That?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, probably what I'm about to start right now, live selling. Like literally, it's like, what am I doing? I mean, I've done mocktail boxes. I've done a little bit of everything, done all kinds of things. But just getting distracted in things that are not paying the bills. But they will. But see, I see the potential in it. I go, oh, but maybe it'll be even bigger. Maybe it'll be
Yeah.
even bigger. Yeah.
Well, and that's an interesting thing. I think a lot of entrepreneurs do. And I used to see this before I started my own business. The previous two like 9 to 5 jobs I had, we say like corporate, but my last two 9 to 5s really were not corporate. They were small businesses in my area. So I worked for a founder, right? And
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
of a small business locally. And I will actually I worked for multiple founders because the first one was a single founder and then the second one was a business partnership, but regardless. So they had the same issue. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs do this where they either are interested in something or they hear about something, right? Like somebody, a business
Yep.
coach tells them, or they saw a post on social media, or they saw a documentary or a news story or an
Yep.
article or
Yep.
whatever, or they heard about their friend who they got into their field with 10 years ago, but now this person has taken off and is making a lot more money than them and has a bigger platform than them. And it's because they did this in their business. They're like, oh, now I need
Now
to
I
do
need
an
to do
online
that.
course. Now
Yeah.
I need to do a
Yeah.
membership, right? Those are two of the examples, which
Yep.
we've both done that and
Yep.
subscription box, right? Like these are things that
Yep.
are kind of trendy, or they can be sort of
Yeah.
trendy, like business models for like, oh, I could do that. Drop shipping is another one that's popular on like print to direct to
Print
garment,
on
print to
demand.
garment. Yeah,
Print
print
on
on
demand.
demand
Hmm.
shops. That's a really common thing if you're like scrolling TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Like these kind of ideas where it's like, oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do that. And what's interesting is any of those things will work if you stick with them. But you
Yeah.
have to stick with them. And none of them are going to be
Totally.
amazingly lucrative right out of the gate. Like they're all
Totally.
going to take time to grow. And then if you stick with it, yes, it will be your next thing, but
Right.
you have to actually like stick to it.
Yeah, totally. You sound like my husband. Like he's like, you just need a plan and you just need to stick to your plan. I'm like, oh, well, I kind of like every time I have a plan, then I hear about something else and I go, well, that sounds fun.
Exactly.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I should do that.
Yes, exactly. And also, that sounds like a lot of fun. I should do that. And also, I'm being now like exposed to or inundated with success stories of other people who are doing this, who
Yeah.
are making money that I'm not making. I would like to be having that level of success. So, therefore, I should do that because clearly that's the thing that's going to put me there.
Right. Right.
And then by the time you have that built, the next shiny thing is
Totally.
there.
There's
Like, oh,
something else. Yeah.
that sounds good
That
too. Yeah.
sounds great too. Yeah. Now I should drop this and do that. I know. I know. I'm 53 years old and I'm still figuring out what I want to do when I grow up.
But that's the
Literally.
thing. None of us
Right.
are immune. And I think
Yeah.
that's why it's
Yeah.
important to talk about because I think
Yep.
I like to talk from a perspective of I have a business that's thriving. Now, thriving is going to be different to everybody. There are people who would say, like, Sarah, you have a baby business. It is like
No, but
paltry.
yep.
And there are other people that would say, I would love to have what you have.
Yep.
There's everything in between, right? And
You're
there's a
right.
lot of people who are my peer group. I am pretty, generally speaking, there are times I'm really hard on myself, but generally speaking, I'm really proud of what I've done. I'm really proud of what I'm
Hmm.
doing. And
It's
I feel like
great.
it's thriving. And I still, as much as I'd love to say, I'm aware of the skeezy marketing tactics and the bad business advice. Like, okay, I still tried an online course because Amy Porterfield told me I should, and I still started a membership because Stu McLaren told me I should. I still did both of those things. So like,
Yep.
we're none of us are immune. We
Yeah.
all get
Yeah. Yeah.
exposed to it, and we all are like, oh yes, that's clearly the
Yeah.
thing I should be doing. So yeah, I mean, it happens to all of us.
It's like, okay, maybe this is it. Yeah. So I'll let you know how the live selling
Hi. Well,
goes.
you're
I'll
gonna have
keep
to
you
come back
updated.
on the
I'll keep you
show and give us an
updated.
update of like
Yes.
what
I'm
what
super
have you
excited.
done since the last time you were here? And
Have I
what's the new shiny object?
have I
So
sold it? Yeah, what's the new thing? Yes.
I like to end all of these, and it's kind of perfect because you said earlier, I want to focus on what brings me joy. And I
Hmm.
thought, I don't know that you even know this, but I like to end all of these conversations with the same question. It can be
Okay.
work related, but it does not have to be, which is, what is something that's making you happy right now?
Making me happy right now. Oh my gosh. You know what's making me really happy right now is having time. I have two daughters, but my younger daughter is about to graduate high school in a few months here. She has written on the calendar that I'm staring at. She has Lily leaves home in August.
Oh,
What's giving me a lot of joy is being able to have time with her right now. She's my last one at home. And just, I mean, literally, even if it's just like we're watching TV in the evening together, it's just simple, but like just having a little time with her. She had a bunch of snow days last week, and we had all this crazy snow in the middle of February in Kentucky. And I was like, I got time. I know it sounds silly. Like, yes, she drove me a little crazy, but like we had extra time together. She even helped me with like some little designs for my shirts that I'm going to be selling. And just to have time together is really making me very happy. Yeah, because life
love
is
that.
short. Life is so short, and I'm so grateful. I'm very grateful to be a mom, and I'm just very grateful for the relationship. We have a good relationship. So even though we're very different, we have different views on things in life. That's okay. And I love that we can get along and still love one another unconditionally. It doesn't matter if we have the exact same views on everything. It's all right.
Yeah,
That's how the
yeah.
world should be, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow. I love that's a really meaningful, special one. And I know obviously mom is literally in your branding and
that's true. Yes.
it's been part of the themes of what we've been discussing, even in when we first met, of wanting to create community and a membership for moms who like find them. I think wine mom is such a stereotype,
Yeah.
and but also people who identify that way but are looking for that sense of community. That's something that you really talked about when we first met. And so I think I know, and having followed you for a while, I saw your other daughter's wedding and like
Oh, yeah.
your
Well, you
kind
have
of
a good
mom
memory.
journeys. Yeah, thanks. Well, I mean, I like you, so
You
I
have
follow
a good
you,
memory.
but
Yeah. 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 I was at her wedding without any alcohol, which I never imagined. My big thing was like, what am I going to drink at my daughter's wedding? And like, I was totally sober and it was fine. I wasn't missing anything. I didn't miss a thing. It was perfect.
I love
So
that. I
it's
love that.
possible. Yeah. Sorry. I interrupted
Yeah.
you. I'm sorry.
No, I know that like your motherhood journey is such a big part of who you are. And so what a beautiful perspective and a beautiful thing to share in such a bittersweet season, to like see that on the
Yep.
calendar staring at you. And
Lily leaves home. Thanks, Lil.
yeah, yeah.
We can just write tears all the way down for the rest of the months. It's very weird. Very
Oh,
weird. Yeah.
okay.
Now that
So mine, what's making me happy right now?
mm-hmm.
These days are hard to do these, only because not because it's hard to come up with something that's making me happy, but because I'm recording 4 podcast episodes today. So I have to have something different for every single one of them. And also I'm like, what did I already say? Okay, so I hope that this is still true by the time this episode comes out. But one of the things that's making me happy right now is I had Amanda was a VA in my business. She was my first hire in
Yeah.
Podfox, and she left Podfox at the same time as she left Big Brave Business. So that was a grieving season for me. Although we're still friends, so it's not like I lost her.
Sure.
But I did.
Sure.
And at the time, it's because her role had really been generalist, and we had hired these kind of specialist roles that were really defined. So it really left her role with not much left. So I did not replace, quote unquote, her on my team for a really long time. And I just not only hired a new, I'll say, quote unquote, VA. I don't really love that term because
Yeah.
I think it can sound like I don't value that person as a full autonomous expert in their own right at what they do. So, but anyways, a new virtual team member and another virtual team member who's been helping me just specifically with my podcast with Big Brave Business. By the way, shout out to Ruth because she does my
Oh,
reels and my social media
wow.
posts for Big Brave Business. So she's been helping me with that, but she has just stepped into Podfox as well to take on some hours there. So 2 new team members on Podfox, and
It's
Brittany
huge.
and Ruth. And I am so glad to have them. Like, it's already
Oh,
just been such a game changer to be able to send tasks that like are just really not a productive use of my time, that are bogging me down, that are weighing me down, or to have the extra added input, the extra added creativity, the extra added personality and culture and people. Like it's so fun. I actually really love
Oh.
hiring. I really love expanding my team. And if I had millions and millions of dollars, I would love to give them away to other people to be on my team.
Yes.
So yeah, that's very, very fun. It's definitely making me happy right now. It was so nice to give Brittany, my brand new team member, a task, and she said it was done, and it's the first time she's ever done it. So I went in behind her just to double check to make sure, because it affects client work. So went in just to make sure that everything was good, so I could let her know, like, either here's something that we learned, or here's, you did great. And it was perfect. And it was like, wow, I just didn't even have to do that task. That was so nice. I could just give it to someone.
Yeah. Take it off your plate.
That's
Yay. Shout out to Brittany.
Yeah. Shout out to Brittany and Ruth.
Yay.
Shout out
and
both
Ruth.
of you.
Yes. That's awesome.
So glad to have you. And hopefully by the time this comes out, I'm still glad to have you.
I'm sure you will be. Sounds like you're all off to a good start.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. If you want to connect with Deb, if you want to check out her live selling and whatever other shiny objects are still to come, if you want to get her book, if you want to learn more about the summit or follow her recipes and her reels and her podcast and all of that, you can find her information in the description of this episode, as well as mine. We would love to hear about your shiny objects, anything in this episode that resonated with you. What are you questioning? What are you struggling with? Like, we want to hear about it. So please let us know, and we would love to connect with you. And thank you so much for being here and for listening. And Deb, thank you for being here. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Always fun to talk to you. And
so great to talk to you.
To you listening, I will see you next week. If you already have a podcast, but you're feeling stuck or frustrated because nobody's really listening, or you just wish more people were listening, or you want to figure out how to start making some money from your podcast, whether that's through sponsored ads or any other form of monetization. By the way, did you know there's other forms of monetization? That is exactly the kind of thing that my team at Podfox Media can help you achieve. You can schedule your strategy session with us today at helpmyshow.com. That's helpmyshow.com. Schedule a session and I'll see you there.